So we've been talking a lot about sustainable living on this channel and how to make more environmentally conscious choices, especially when it comes to our fashion consumption habits. And there's so many options that people are talking about right now about how one can actually become sustainable, such as repurposing your clothes or reducing the amount of clothes that you actually buy, or basically just not buying anything at all and just sticking with what you have. But is it that simple? I'm personally working on this journey to sustainable living, and one of the things that I'm trying to implement is to adopt sustainable fashion consumption habits. But every single day I'm realizing that it may not be as easy as it is made out to be. I often find myself in situations where I'm back on the bandwagon of buying things that I don't need just because it's on discount, or I come across it and I like it and I want to get it and I get it, right? And I've been wondering, how can I truly be sustainable in my consumption habits when much as I try to do so, I keep making mistakes or I fall short in some way? If you're like me and you wanting to be more sustainable in your fashion consumption habits, but you keep buying things that you've sworn to yourself that you're going to stop buying, or you're basically just wondering how you could actually implement sustainability into your lifestyle, then I urge you to keep watching this video, because we're going to be talking about 5 things that keep us in the cycle of buying things that we don't actually need, even when we deeply desire to make a change and become more sustainable in our consumption habits. Hi Furniture fam, and welcome back, and welcome to those of you who are new to this channel. It's so good to have you here. Now, before we continue with this video, I'd just like to remind you that this is not the only platform that you can connect with me. For Nature is available on TikTok and Instagram. So if you don't follow for Nature on those platforms, please head over there and follow us for more videos on sustainability and the law. So as you may have gathered from the title of this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the reasons that I think keep us from adopting sustainable habits, especially when it comes to our fashion consumption. And these things that I'm sharing with you, I've personally had a challenge with, and some I've overcome the challenges, some I'm still working on it. But I also know that I'm not the only person who has been facing these challenges, which is why I wanted to share this with you as we strive to become more sustainable in our lifestyle and make environmentally conscious choices going forward. I love shopping. Like, I do love clothes, and I always want to look good, because when I look good, I feel good, okay? And clothes for me are a form of expression. So sometimes I wear certain colors because they make me feel a certain way. So for example, I'm a pink girly. I love the color pink because for some reason it calms me down. So I'm always tempted to keep buying lots and lots of pink stuff so that I have some pink around me all the time, right? And sometimes also when I feel happy, I express it through my clothes, or when I'm feeling a little bit down, I also express it through my clothes. So I may decide to dress up a bit just to lighten up my moods, because then, you know, it changes how I'm feeling about certain things. It doesn't make the problems go away, but it definitely changes my attitude, and I can come back to the problem with a different light, right? So I guess it's my own way of living the expression, don't dress like your problems. But anyway, the downside of all of these things that I'm saying is that I may end up actually buying things that I don't need. So for example, I see a pink thing because I like pink, I end up getting it, not necessarily because I need it, but because I'm attracted to the color pink. And anything that is pink screams at me. It's literally like, please see me, please get me. And I'm like, yeah, I love you girl, so I'm gonna get it, right? Or, you know, if I'm freaking out about something or anxious about something, and I happen to then go to the shops for some reason, and either I see the color pink, I'm gonna get it because it's gonna calm down my nerves, okay? Or sometimes what actually happens is I get influenced into buying something because I saw someone advertising it or some influencer talking about it, and then this thing really calls out to me, or it speaks to my aesthetic, or I'm like, it really looks good on her, and then I end up buying it, but doesn't mean it's going to look good on me. That's another story. But basically what I'm trying to say is, do you need all these items that you keep buying as a result of all these other influences around us? So there's so many psychological, social, and economic factors that cause us to buy things that we don't need. And just like everyone else, I've also fallen into this trap so many times, but now I'm trying to make a change because I want to be more sustainable in my consumption habits and be a better guardian of this planet Earth that we have, because there is no planet B, and part of being a better guardian of the planet Earth is assessing our own consumption habits and how we are contributing to the existing carbon footprint and exacerbating it, right? And finding ways to reduce our carbon footprint as individuals as well, because we do play a role in that. So this is why I'm on this train. So apart from the environmental argument, it actually serves me financially to make more conscious choices when it comes to the things that I buy, because then I don't waste money on things that I know I'm not going to need and I'm never going to use, or I'm just going to use one time, because that is not a worthwhile investment at all. But like I said, we all fall short, and the beauty about the journey to sustainable living is that it is a journey, right? It is not about perfection, but progression. And here on I Root for Nature, we don't judge each other. This is a space for all of us to learn and grow. And that's one of the reasons why I thought to actually share this and actually say, these are also struggles I'm going through, you know, and this is what I've sort of realized is the influence behind these struggles, because I'm pretty sure if I'm struggling with it, someone else probably is, and you're wondering, so how do I make it start? Because I really want to become more sustainable and become more conscious in my consumption habits. So here are 5 reasons why you keep buying stuff that you don't need, and you inevitably contribute to the environmental problem of fashion in some ways. The truth is, unless we actually truly examine some of the psychological and social factors that influence us into behaving a certain way, it will be very hard for us to implement sustainability in our lifestyles. So these tips around reducing, reusing, repurposing clothes, they are all good and helpful in terms of how to actually become sustainable and live it daily, but they fail to take into account certain other factors that actually influence consumer behavior and why we then end up buying stuff we don't actually need. Number 1, the influence of fashion trends. Have you ever seen something being constantly advertised and you feel like if you don't get it then you'll be missing out on all the fashion in the world? Yeah, I've been through that. There are some things that I've bought simply because it's in fashion and I also feel like I need to fit in. But how many of those things do we actually still wear? I mean, think about it. Years ago, there were things called jelly pumps, right? I'm going to put a picture here. Jelly pumps. How many of us actually still wear jelly pumps? It was just a trend that came and it ended, right? And the thing about jelly pumps is they're made out of plastic, right? So think about all the jelly pumps that were produced during that trend and where they ended up. And plastic takes a long time to actually biodegrade, right? So they're probably lying in some landfill somewhere, damaging the natural environment, obviously, because it's plastic. But at the same time, that was just a fashion trend. And that's the thing with fashion trends, right? They come and they go. They're not meant to last. And because we're busy following fashion trends, we're not actually assessing the environmental impact of this, but at the same time how it's also affecting us as human beings in terms of wanting to belong. It's a natural thing for people wanting to seek belonging, and one of the ways we do this is by trying to fit in with what's trending in society so that you become more relevant, right? But is it actually helpful? Is it going to help you in becoming more sustainable? Because when you want to implement sustainability in your life, then you're going to have to stop chasing the fashion trends. You're going to have to stop chasing what's in fashion and maybe stick to who you are. What do you like? What do you like to wear? What is your fashion sense? What is your fashion style? You know, once you identify that for yourself, then it's going to be easier for you to actually stay no, I'm not following that. And then you just buy the things that you need, that suit your own style, that suit you as a person and your own lifestyle. And one of the things that I am learning is that fitting in is never something you're supposed to do anyway. You're meant to stand out. We are all unique. We have our own styles, we have different lifestyles, and also we have different body shapes and everything. And when it comes to fashion, it's all about you know, how do you express yourself in that? So following trends sometimes are not suited to you as an individual, right? It's someone else saying this should trend, and then now you're jumping on it. But is it really you? Does it really bring out you or express who you are in some way? I would say, like, it's totally okay to just be yourself and wear what makes you happy and comfortable. Always be you, even if others see it as backwards or out of fashion, even if people say you lack style. Just be you. If it makes you happy, do that. There is no need for you to impress other people by keeping up with the trends, because at the end of the day, people are not really focused on you but their own problems. I know it hurts, but it's actually true. Those people you're trying to impress, they're not even looking at you. Okay, you're wasting time. So rather figure out, what is my fashion sense, what is my fashion style, what do I like wearing, what makes me feel comfortable and happy and me. And then you focus on that, because once you start doing that, you're going to see that you're going to reduce some of these things that you keep buying that you don't need because you're trying to follow up a certain trend, and just stick to things that actually represent you, things that you actually use. And that way you actually start becoming more sustainable in your fashion consumption habits. Also, you see, the thing about fashion trends is they're continuously evolving, right? And this desire to keep up to date with it will constantly drive you into purchasing new clothing frequently. And it's not necessarily because you don't have clothes, but it's because of this need to fit in and belong, right? And the fashion industry, they know it, and they will leverage their seasonal collections and marketing campaigns just to create a sense of urgency within you and exclusivity around new styles, which makes you then feel like if you don't get it, then you're gonna miss out. And this fear of missing out, it then encourages you to buy the latest outfits to fit in and feel stylish. It's like a psychological game that they're playing with you, because they know about this human need to want to fit in and below, and they're feeding off that, and you're just like falling into it all the time, falling into it. It's a trap. I'm also falling into it sometimes, so I'm with you. Truth is, if you actually look at some of the things that are in fashion right now, these are just trends that are being recycled from the past. I mean, we keep seeing things come and go and come back again. Think about it. The fashion of the 90s and of the 80s has come back. Another aspect of this as well is social media and influencers who are doing all these fashion hauls and styling videos, which then make you feel like you're missing out on something. But remember, social media is just that. It's not real. And 90% of the time, these influencers are being paid to promote this material, or they are working towards getting paid, right? It's their bread and butter. So you don't need to feel this pressure to get these things because some influencer told you to, or you saw them with it, right? Look into yourself first and assess if it's something that you really need before you make the purchase. Is it even your style? I mean, do you have a similar item in your wardrobe? And what difference would this new one make? Remember, wearing the latest clothes will not solve any of your insecurities about a lack of belonging. It will not make you relevant in any way, because some of these things are deep inner things that we need to work on and can only be solved if we actually do the inner work that is required. And also, if you realize that you were actually never meant to belong in the first place, you are not meant to fit in, but you're rather meant to stand out and just be you, you know, your authentic, unique self. So it's perfectly okay to not be following trends. It's perfectly okay to just stick to what you like and what makes you feel happy, even though there is something else that is trending in the fashion world. And then another thing that is keeping you on this cycle of constantly buying things that you don't need is emotional shopping. Okay, emotional shopping, or as I like to call it, retail therapy. I constantly used to fall into this trap. I'll be having a bad day, or I'll be bored or frustrated with something, and then I end up clearing a cart on Superbalist or Shane, or I just go to the mall, and before I know it, I've literally spent a lot of money buying clothes I wasn't even thinking of buying in the first place when I got there. Or sometimes I'll even think about that item I saw 2 months ago. I'm like, let me go see if it's still there. And then I end up buying it. But 2 months ago, the reason why I didn't buy it was because I didn't need it. But somehow now it became so urgent. I needed to get this item, but it's not because I need to get this item, but I'm probably suppressing some kind of emotion and providing some kind of comfort and relief, right? And in that moment it feels so good. But the thing about it is, even if I get it, I'm probably not gonna wear it, or if I do, I'm probably gonna wear it once or twice and then I just abandon the item because I didn't need this item in the first place, right? I'm actually proud of myself in this area because I have made some significant strides in changing my habits around this, and really just like assessing, do I really need this item, or it's because I'm just so bored, or I'm feeling sad and I feel like I need a boost, and now I'm ending up with a shopping cart that I'm not supposed to have. Old habits die hard, so sometimes they creep back in and you gotta get control of that. So no shame there, I'm just gonna be honest. But I actually realized that a lot of people actually tend to do this, like tend to shopping as a way to cope with stress, boredom, or a low self-esteem. The act of purchasing new clothes itself is therapeutic in some way. It does provide a temporary boost in your mood and self-confidence, which is why it's called retail therapy. But then when you constantly do it, it just then becomes this habitual way for you to seek comfort and happiness, which then leads to an accumulation of clothes that you don't actually need. It does feel good in the moment, I'll admit that, but then again, the feeling is very temporary, which is why we keep doing it over and over and over again. But what it is it's actually a symptom of something that is deeper, that you need to deal with. So you need to go back, deal with that root cause of the problem, and then when you do that, you're going to see how the results will flow through into every other areas of your life, and it may actually help you in this particular one. So it's a symptom of a much deeper problem that you actually need to deal with. And once you deal with the root cause of this problem, you're going to see how it will filter through into your every other consumption habit, because now you've got some kind of regulation of your emotions and you don't allow them to control you so much to the extent that you end up spending money that you're not supposed to be spending simply because you're feeling sad, or buying things that you're not supposed to buy in the first place, things that you don't actually need simply because you're feeling a certain way. So it's more about emotional regulation, but you need to look deep inside, like what is this emotion, and why is it driving me to want to then behave in this way? Once you do that, once you're more aware of that, it's easier for you in future to then notice and recognize, oh, I'm feeling this way, normally I end up doing this. But if it's boredom, how do I regulate my boredom so that I don't end up buying stuff that I don't need, but maybe I find a hobby that would then fulfill me in some way and get rid of that boredom. Another reason why we also keep buying things that we don't need is the rise of fast fashion. This is actually linked to the first point that I made about keeping up with the trends, because that is exactly what fast fashion is, right? I'm actually not going to dwell much on this point because I've belabored it in the first point, but also because I do have a specific video on the impacts of fast fashion on the environment and how to quit fast fashion in 2024 so that you can become more sustainable. So if you haven't watched that video, I'm going to link it up here so that you can go back and watch it and you can learn more about this particular point. But basically what I'm just going to say in this video is how fast fashion brands have actually made fashion more accessible and affordable to the masses than ever before, right? Previously you had to wait for a particular season in order for you to access certain clothing items because clothes were released per season. But then now with fast fashion, new collections are being released weekly. I know with Shane, they literally release new clothing items every day or something like that, and the prices are also quite low and they get lower and lower. So as a consumer, you're then tempted to buy more frequently, and the advertising is so good. Like you literally go on Google and boom, there is an item in your face and it keeps popping up and popping up, and before you know it, you are tempted to buy it. That's how accessible fashion has just become. And it also makes it so easy for people to justify purchasing multiple items without considering their long-term need, because this thing keeps coming at you, right? And you're like, I'm gonna get it, it's so cheap, it's so affordable, it's stylish, it's trendy, so I'm gonna get it. And also influencers also come in here, because they're coming in with this fast fashion hauls and try-ons, and they add to this desire, and you then find yourself making these purchases that you don't actually need. You end up buying things that will not even serve your needs in the next year or 2 or 3 years down the line. You probably won't even have this thing anymore. You're just gonna throw it away, thereby increasing your environmental footprint. And because fast fashion is not actually made to last, you're going to dispose of this thing much earlier than you should have if you actually just bought slow fashion stuff. But at the same time, you're gonna keep buying and buying the same item over and over again, which is going to be more expensive in the long term for you, because it's not meant to last, it's not meant to be durable, it's not even made with proper high quality materials, but you're still buying all of these things simply because of how accessible and affordable it has become. But like I said, I already have a video on this, so I'm going to link it here so that you can go and watch that and have more detail on this particular aspect. And by the way, if you're enjoying watching this video so far, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up down below. And if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe down below and hit the notification bell so that you're notified every single time that I upload a video. The fourth reason why you keep buying things that you do not need is because you are a victim of impulse buying due to sales and discounts. Okay, I love discounts, yo. Like, I certainly love discounts. Imagine something that was like 2,000 rands and now you are getting it at 800 rand. I mean, I love a good bargain. Okay, I'm literally that girl with like the store discounts with the packs and everything. I'm like that girl. But the trap here is buying what you don't need simply because it's on sale or there's a discount, right? You know, those buy one get one for free, or you walk into a shop and something's like 75% off and you're like, wow, I'm gonna get it. It's that excitement that you get when you see this very good discount that is keeping you in the cycle of buying more, even when you are trying to reduce your consumption habits and want to become more sustainable. It's attractive, right? You get tempted, you get excited, and then you spend. But then the thing is, you might not even need it, you might not even wear this thing, you might buy it, put it in your wardrobe and forget about it, right? It does happen. But it's like when you see it, the minute you see this item, you see this discount, it's like you get this dopamine boost when you see this item on sale or on some special discount. And salespeople are really good. They'll tell you this thing is only for today or it's only for this weekend, and then there's this sense of urgency, like I need to get it before the sale ends, you know? But the thing is, are you actually going to wear that item? And for how long, you know? Or are you just adding clutter to your wardrobe? I'm actually speaking to myself much as I'm speaking to you here, because like I said, this is not a place of judgment, but for us to learn and grow together as we strive to do better and make more conscious choices in our consumption habits. I mean, impulse buying will not only lead you into buying things that you don't need, but it may even put you in an unnecessary financial fix that could have been avoided in the first place had you not given into that itch. So my new rule, which I'm implementing to sort of avoid this impulse buying, especially when it comes to sales and discounts, because yeah, I've fallen into that trap so many times, is to wait at least 24 to 48 hours or even up to a week, right, before I make the decision to buy this item. And just like assess if I still need this thing, you know. And that has served me quite a lot, especially in the past year, because now I know that if I still feel like I need this thing after a week or after 48 hours or even after a month, if I still feel like I need this thing, then that probably means that I need this particular thing, and then I end up buying it. But if after 24 hours I've even forgotten about it, after a week I don't even remember this thing, I never needed it in the first place. But also, just a disclaimer here, I'm not saying all sales and discounts are so bad, because sometimes they are not that bad. I mean, if you're being honest, what is currently being considered a sustainable fashion at the moment is not that affordable to a lot of people, right? But that's a discussion for another day. So perhaps the only way that you'll be able to access it is when you actually buy it when it's on sale or when it is discounted. And you know, there's no black and white rule here, but it's really just about assessing your intention behind buying this item and whether or not you actually need it. And then another reason why we keep buying stuff that we don't need is this thing about I may need it in the future. Oh my god, especially us women, we're always trying to anticipate future events, you know, like what if I get invited to this party, I get invited to a wedding, or I have to go to this particular place, to the beach or whatever. I need this thing now, you know, this perceived investment in future events or occasions is what's keeping us in this loop of constantly buying things that we don't need, and they're just adding clutter to our wardrobe. I mean, I know there are some things that people say every woman should have, like say a little black dress or a blazer or an evening dress, but some of these things are really based on style and your lifestyle, right? So with my current lifestyle personally, and even with my own fashion style, there are certain pieces of clothing that just don't make sense for me, especially right now. Like, they just don't make sense for me to have. And I've fallen into the trap of buying those things because you're constantly seeing people say every woman needs to have this, every woman needs to have this kind of shoe in their wardrobe, every woman needs to have this kind of dress in their wardrobe. But my own lifestyle doesn't really match with this particular thing, or there's nothing that I do in my life that will ever require me to wear this particular thing. Or it's not even my fashion style. I don't feel comfortable wearing this type of shoe, I don't feel comfortable wearing that type of piece of clothing, you know. So it's really about discernment and knowing thyself. And I have to admit, sometimes it has come in handy to just have something that you bought way back, anticipating some kind of event to happen that you may need to then wear this item. But it's not always the case, and that is the honest truth. And also remember, sometimes some of these events, they come with certain themes or a particular dress code, which would then not match with what you bought 5 years ago for this event that has now come. But at the same time, you also change as a human being. As you grow, your sense of fashion also changes. You can even change your body size so that thing doesn't fit anymore. But also something I've noticed is that even if you buy something this year for an event you're anticipating 5 years from now, 5 years from now, you're probably not going to wear that thing you bought in 2024. Why? Because there is this thing of, but it's a wedding, I want to look nice, and then you're going to go to the shops to buy something else, forgetting 5 years ago you bought something anticipating you might be invited to a wedding. So this is a trap that you actually need to avoid, especially when you're thinking about becoming more sustainable and avoiding clutter in your wardrobe. Okay, it's actually very important for us to understand why we keep buying things that we don't need, because there are a lot of factors that are involved here. So it's not just about the how do I actually do it, you know, thrifting and reusing and repurposing. Those are very important things, but there's also a psychological and sociological aspect of this component that really influences human behavior into buying or consuming things the way that we do. And we all fall into this trap, so we also need to be very aware of it, because much of it is about self-awareness and identifying like which of these things are my kryptonite here. Because maybe for you it's emotional buying, or it's impulse buying, or maybe for you it's this thing of wanting to fit in and belonging and wanting to be more stylish because this thing is in style. Then you feel like, oh okay, I'm gonna be impressive and so forth. But like, look within yourself and see what is it that actually makes me want to keep buying things that I know I don't need, or I may not even wear, or I may wear 1 or 2 times and then just get over it. Or you know, that thing that makes you press the checkout button knowing fully well that you don't really need this item, you just want it because you saw so and so wearing it, or you know, it will make you look a certain way or appear a certain way to people. Like, assess those things, because once you know what it is that drives you to consume the way that you do, then it will be easier for you to then implement the change that you actually need to implement and become more sustainable and conscious of your consumption habits. And this is not just about the fashion itself, it also applies to your other consumption habits, other things that you spend money on constantly, knowing fully well that this is an item you don't actually need. And it also helps us avoid a lot of clutter in our life and become a little bit more minimalistic, and just really have what you need. But again, we need to remember that sustainable living is a journey, not a destination. So it's okay for you to slip up. We all make mistakes. You're probably going to start on this thing, and then at some point you just like slip up. You go into the shop and you forget to check the label. You just get this thing, you realize, oh, it's polyester. Or you literally just like, I really love this item and I know it's not made from sustainable material, but I really love this item. It's okay to make slip ups. Okay, you need to be kind and more gracious to yourself as you walk through this journey, because what is important here is that you do the best that you can to get there, right? One small change each and every day equals bigger changes in the long term. So don't feel disheartened if you really want to become more sustainable and change your consumption habits, but you keep falling into the trap of some of these influences that we just talked about. Keep trying and eventually you're gonna get there. As long as you are more intentional about it and you deeply desire to make the change, you will get there. Okay, that's it from me for now. I hope you found this video useful and that it will also help you become more conscious of your own consumption habits and the things that are influencing you, so that you can make the change that needs to happen. Also, if you're enjoying these videos on sustainable living, please don't forget to give them a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified every single time that I upload a video. Your support will also help push these videos to other people who may find it beneficial for them. So until the next time, stay true, keep fighting, and keep the earth clean.